So, um, you've probably heard the name Putnam County, Florida, the bass capital of the world.
Yeah, it's got quite the ring to it.
But what's really behind that title? It's more than just a nice slogan, right? It's this global reputation built over, well, decades of catching huge fish.
Absolutely. And it's not just anglers talking it up.
Oh.
The Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, the FWC, they actually back this up. They've officially marked 3 main water bodies there as top 10 state fisheries. That's significant validation.
Okay, gotcha. So for this deep dive, we're looking at what makes it tick, ecologically speaking, focusing on those crown jewel spots.
Exactly. You want to unpack the why behind the fame.
Right. And the sources point to something really interesting. It's this clash almost of water systems. You've got your classic freshwater stuff, but then it runs right into the lower St. Johns River, which is brackish, tidally influenced.
Yeah.
That's the key, isn't it?
That's the absolute core of it, that constant mixing, fresh and salt. It just fuels incredible biodiversity. It's kind of the ultimate angler's dream, really.
How so?
Well, think about it. You could be chasing trophy largemouth bass, like huge ones, in the morning.
Okay.
And then literally that same afternoon, in the same river system, you could be targeting proper saltwater fish, redfish, flounder, speckled trout, even those big striped bass.
Wait, redfish and largemouth bass in the same spot. That seems unusual. What ties that all together? What makes them all feed?
It's actually something pretty small that kicks it all off. There's this massive seasonal shrimp migration that runs up the St. John's.
Yep. Seriously.
Seriously, when those shrimp make their move, it's like a dinner bell rings across the whole system. It triggers this intense feeding frenzy. Doesn't matter if you're a bass hiding back in a creek or a redfish out in the main channel, everyone keys in on those shrimps.
Okay, so the St. Johns River is central to everything. It's the main artery, and it flows north, which is pretty rare globally.
Right. And down in Putnam County, it's deep, it's brackish. That's what allows that weird mix of freshwater and saltwater species to live together.
And there are specific spots, like around the Memorial Bridge in Palatka. That's known for striped bass runs.
Definitely. Especially in the fall and winter, that area can get loaded with big stripers. But if we're talking purely about those giant, legendary largemouth bass...
Yeah, where's the real factory?
Then you have to talk about Rodman Reservoir, the trophy factory. You got to understand how it came to be, though. It's man-made.
Right, from that old Cross-Florida Barge Canal project back in '68.
Exactly. And its legendary status comes directly from what's in it, basically. A huge underwater forest of standing timber left over from when they flooded it.
Okay, so that flooded timber gives the base tons of cover to grow massive. But fishing, that sounds, well, expensive, like you'd lose a lot of lures.
Oh, absolutely. It's high risk, high reward. It demands a very specific approach.
So is Crescent Lake maybe a better bet? The sources call it the consistent all-star? Maybe better for someone who doesn't want to respool after every trip?
That's a fair point. Rodman needs heavy-duty gear, not just for the fish, but for the structure itself. Think about it. Those old submerged stumps, they often get covered in barnacles.
Which would shred regular fishing line.
Instantly. So you need heavy braided line, stout rods. It's all about vertical fishing, flipping and pitching right into that thick wood to pull the fish out.
Got it. Tactical necessity, not just brute strength. Now, Crescent Lake, its consistency, that comes from its structure too, right? Something more predictable.
It does. Crescent has this really sharp, clear drop-off along the shoreline. It acts like a highway for bait fish, so the bass hang around there. And crucially, it's also famous for something else.
What's that?
Black crappie, or specks as they call them. It's widely considered one of the best speck lakes in Florida, especially during the spring spawn up in the lily pads.
So with this whole mix, fresh, salt, different species, there's one big practical thing we need to touch on. Licenses and regulations.
That's critical.
Because licensing follows the fish you're targeting, or the fish you actually catch and keep. So you could hook a bass, then a redfish an hour later. That could be tricky legally, couldn't it?
Absolutely tricky. Since the lower St. John's is tidally influenced, even though it feels like freshwater, you get that legal overlap. Catching a redfish, even if you were bass fishing, means saltwater rules apply.
So the safest bet is?
Just get the combination freshwater and saltwater license. It's relatively cheap insurance compared to a potential fine from the FWC. Gives you complete peace of mind.
Makes sense. Okay, finally, let's zoom out to Lake George. This place is huge, 46,000 acres, almost like an inland sea. The sources say it lacks that typical shoreline vegetation you see on most Florida lakes.
Yeah, it's fundamentally different. Fishing Lake George requires a completely different mindset. You almost have to ignore the banks, think offshore.
Offshore, in a lake.
You have to treat it like you're out in the ocean, basically. Success there hinges on finding isolated, hard structure way out in the middle. You need good electronics, GPS, sonar. Because the fish aren't relating to the shore, they're suspended out deep, relating only to underwater structure or depth changes.
And what kind of structure are we talking about?
Often it's remnants of human activity. Believe it or not, things like the old bombing range targets from World War II, concrete structures, old pilings, anything that creates an artificial reef effect way out in that vast expanse of water.
Wow. So Rodman's defined by man-made flooding chaos of St. John's by its natural flow, but Lake George, it demands finding deep structure linked to, well, military history.
Kind of wild, isn't it?
It really is. So here's something to think about. If the biggest fish in a place like Lake George are setting up on forgotten WWII debris, what does that suggest about the future? Where finding Sophie fish might depend more on locating old human infrastructure than finding pristine natural spots.